Go to promo.
Hey, what's up? Hey, did you read Will? Good stuff. Anyway, you said you want to make comics, right? But you don't want to do all that other stuff like create a graphic for 7 days a week, every day, so you can post because you ain't got time, because you just want to make comics. I hear you. But you know what? I got the time. And this is what I do best. So why don't you let me help you do what you do best by doing what I do best, and let's meet in the middle. Let's go up into the studio and let's talk about it. Oh, wait. Before we go in, you want a single? Or you want a bundle? Oh, you ballin'. All right, let's do this. All right, so here's how it works. I have a single graphic, I have a weekly bundle, and I have a monthly bundle. But you know what? Let's just show you.
Okay, let's cut to the meat and potatoes. So here we go. This is how it works. You will send me transparent graphics of your characters, your logo, and you'll send me a copy of your book. Then you will tell me which bundle you want. Do you want a single image? Do you want a weekly bundle or a monthly bundle? Then what I do is I theme it out. If you get a monthly bundle, then every week you'll have a themed promo, right? So all you have to do is upload it. I will drop it in Dropbox. I will send you the 30 different images, and then all you do is wake up in the morning and go on your social media and just blast it up. You don't have to spend those hours trying to figure out your campaign. I got that for you. So let's get it going. What's up, George? What's going on in the House of Craze tonight?
In the House of Craze, we have another live Kickstarter special, and we have Mr. Monte Michael Moore with his Blood and Bullets book coming up. Talking to him about it.
Dodging those bullets. Let's get it.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Catch the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the Dreamer, Medina, and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your mans, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to catch the Craze. If you are an independent, catch the Craze. Making moves on your own, catch the Craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the Craze. Join the movement, catch the Craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. You know you want to do it. Catch the Craze. Welcome to Catch the Craze podcast. I am your host with the most, the Crazy Man Vera, and I am with
George, the Dreamer Medina. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Catch the Craze. We are live. Once again, Kickstarter live. Special.
Yes.
Blood and Bullets, Monte Michael Moore. Blood and Bullets number 2.
Yes.
So here we are. So check it out. What's going on with you? What's happening, Sam?
What's happening? Trying to make it happen. That's what's happening. Still pushing to get the Kickstarter. We got 15 days to go with the campaign. We still haven't unlocked the stretch goal. We're about 125 away from unlocking the stretch goal, and we are 20 backers away from unlocking the backer goal on Kickstarter. On Indiegogo, we are 20 backers away from unlocking the stretch goal. And I believe 300 and change from making goal on Indiegogo. So tonight we're supposed to be hosting a raffle. So if we get a backer tonight, George has his spinner.
Right. I got my spinner. It's ready. It's ready.
Yes.
It's empty. I have to get the names in there, but the spinner's here. It's back. It's Tuesday.
What's going on with your mic? Hello?
I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back.
I got Tuesday.
I got excited. I got very excited. Very excited. Tuesday's here. We're doing another raffle. So hopefully we'll have enough news for the spinner to get spinning today.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening.
Yeah. So if you don't know about Forbidden, it is my fantasy comic book series that I wrote back in 2000. Worked with artists Anibal Arroyo and Primate Santra. covers by Eric Ifata, David Quiles, Samuel Vera, which is me, Anibal Arroyo, Prime Santra, and variant cover by John Coates. 20 years in the making. This is the third campaign this year. And we're trying to get past, we're trying to get to 100 backers. So as an incentive, George the Dreamer Medina came up with the raffle. So if we had, for every 5 backers at $15 or more, every Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, we will put your name on George Infamous Spinner. I called it Wheel of Fortune, and I got chastised for it. So it's called the Spinner. And what's up, Pops? And Pops in the house. And so your name will go on that spinner. So let me give you a little promo of what we're talking about with regards to Forbidden. So basically, that's the short version. So basically, this is 32 pages on this issue. It's issue number 2, which is book 3. We started with issue 0. Then 1, now it's issue 2. 32 pages, plus we have the graphic novel. And so you get to pick. So if you're new to Forbidden and you're not sure if you want to collect all 3 or get the graphic novel, but you want to start somewhere, I added 4 new tiers to the campaign. So there's a digital tier for issue 0. For $5, you can start with issue 0, or you can get a physical copy of issue 0 for $10. That includes shipping, so that $10 includes your shipping and everything. And also added a tier for issue 1. And also as a special incentive for the graphic novel, for those of you who really want to get the graphic novel and your graphic novel readers, I added for every 10 backers of the graphic novel bundle, I will do a commissioned sketch card, character of your choosing, for you. And that's what we're trying to do. So I added a couple of new things to the campaign. This guy's jacking me up. Sit down. Sorry about that. That's my dog acting up. Can I pet that dog? And so I'm excited about Forbidden. It's again, this is the 3rd book in the series, and again, I'm just trying to get readership. So if I get 100 people that just got the digital version of issue 0, $5 each, I'm happy with that. That means I got 100 people reading it, and hopefully those 100 people come back in the fall of next year when I come up with the full 200-page graphic novel.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, readership is important, man. I think that the money or whatever is made on the campaign usually doesn't go into anybody's pocket other than the USPS and obviously the printer, right? Because you got to get the books printed. So it doesn't really go into your pocket. So at this point, it's all about getting readers out there. So if you guys, maybe are saying, you know what? I don't know who this guy is. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to get that book. I have no idea. And you want to just give it a try, $5 will get you a PDF. Now, if you want to catch up, because that's the $15 is the catch up campaign on the PDFs, right?
Yes.
So it's basically all 3 issues for $15. PDF gets sent right to your email, and you can read them on your laptop, computer, on your iPhone, iPad, smart, phone, whatever you have. You can read it on there. I have seen a lot of things on unfortunately on Facebook and on social media about campaigns that don't get fulfilled. And I think that I don't know if that's deterring people from pledging. And you guys watching, you comment below if that's maybe some of the reasons why people are apprehensive about pledging to campaigns. Will I get the book? Am I going to get the book? How do I know?
Oh, you get it. I mean, so if you looked at it, we've done 6 campaigns so far, and everyone's gotten
No, I'm saying they'll get this one.
I'm
just saying I'm wondering if the reason why people are apprehensive about pledging to other campaigns, not this one.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm apprehensive about some cats because I waited a year for something that was supposed to come 10 months ago. So for me, that's like very discouraging. So like I won't go. I mean, for me, it's about integrity and credibility, right? It's if you say you're gonna do something, do it. And so for me, it's like if I'm saying I'm gonna, within my control, I can't control the postal service shutting down. I can't control blizzards that might affect shipping, and I can't control paper shortage. What I can control is getting it to the printers. When I get it from the printers, getting it right out the door. Again, those are things I can control. So within my control, you'll get everything on time.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And I think that, like you're talking about within your control, the USPS or whatever, that's not something we control. But again, that's why those PDFs are a safe way to get. You're gonna, unless the internet goes down somehow, you're gonna get those PDFs. The book is done at this point. It's not even like a matter of like, oh man, are these guys gonna finish that book? That book is done. It's finished. It is ready to be sent to the printer, sent to your house, or emailed to you. So there's no risk there. That risk is gone. Like there is no risk of like, oh, are these guys gonna finish that book?
What's even more important is that the entire series is done. So this is the third book. But there are 7 in total because there's 6 issues, but it started with 0. So it's really 7.
0.
So it's really 7 issues. And hold on. Breaking news. Let's see. Breaking news.
Did you just get one? Ooh, boy.
Okay, so we got one, but we haven't hit the $15 mark. I mean, that's up to you. I'm going to let you do the decision. But thank you, Pops. Thank you, Pops Van Zandt. I appreciate you. Hold on. Pops gets a cheer.
Pops comes through.
Thank you, Pops. So you know what? We're gonna throw Pops' name onto that spinner.
Okay.
That's it. We got 5 names on the spinner tonight, so we're going to throw Pops' name on that spinner. And so we were waiting for one more. And so everybody else, now we're going to collect the other 5. But thank you, Pops, for supporting Forbidden. I am sure you're going to love it. And but yeah, no, I'm excited. It's also, it's also discouraging sometimes, right? Because you work really hard. This is your passion, and you're like, and I post everywhere. I'm everywhere. And then when you see you hit a wall and 2 days, 3 days, 4 days go by, 5 days go by, I'm like, and nothing. And I'm like, oh. Then you start second guessing everything and the head junk starts coming into play and all that stuff. And then you go look at the refrigerator and you see that bottle of Corona. You're like, I think I need a drink. Right? It's like I'm such a misfit. Like, am I such a nitwit? And so you start all this stuff. And you're like, man, I worked for years on this project. Why can't I get it out? And no mandate has been lifted. I ordered my computer today, so the no buy mandate has been lifted. There you go, outstanding. And so it's like Pops.
Pops.
Yeah,
baby. No buy mandate.
No buy mandate. So when you put your heart and soul into something, and it's just reach. It's really reach. It's really getting the word out and getting people to really pull the trigger. So I added those 4 new tiers. I added we got the raffle going, and we also have the incentive for the graphic novel backers. For every 10 backers, they'll get a commission sketch card character of their choosing, just as a way to entice people. Because I'd be okay if we broke 100 and everyone just did digital. I'd be happy with that because, again, it really is about everyone. The artists were paid for. The production is done. The book is done. I'm not sitting around waiting for something to happen. It's done. So,
yeah.
You okay? What are you doing? Sorry about that.
It's funny because at the beginning of campaign, we had this thing where we were going to have this, Kickstarter versus Indiegogo. Where would we get more of the pledges? Kickstarter is kicking Indiegogo's ass right now. There have been so many more pledges on Kickstarter than Indiegogo. So, yeah, Kickstarter's on top as far as the crowdfunding campaigns. Because remember, this campaign, for those who are watching and don't know who the hell we are, Sam Vera is a creator. He wrote a book called Forbidden, and there is a crowdfunding campaign right now on 2 platforms at the same time. I don't know if anybody's ever tried this before that's watching. I don't know why this man decided to do this, but he is the crazy man Vera, and so he did. So he is on Kickstarter and on Indiegogo at the same time. Now remember, this is the exact same campaign. This isn't campaign 1 is on Indiegogo, campaign 2 is on Kickstarter. It's the same exact campaign.
Yes.
So you're not, if you go to Indiegogo, will I get what they're getting in Kickstarter? Yes, you will.
You can even get the Kickstarter exclusive cover on Indiegogo and vice versa. So everything is the same with the exception of the goals. The goals are shorter on Indiegogo because I don't get the same amount of crowd that I do on Kickstarter. So on Indiegogo, my stretch goal starts at my backer goal starts at 25. So if I get 25 backers, it unlocks the digital print of the David Hunter and the Creepers. On Indiegogo, where on Kickstarter it's at 50. So that's the only thing that's different. It's just the backer and the stretch goals are different on between the two because I had to take into consideration the crowd difference.
Yeah, it's crazy how there is a big difference.
Because, I'm still trying to come up in this game after a 10-year hiatus. So, I'm fighting my way to the top. The Madness members came through. Holla. Bring on the madness. So I see that our guest is in the waiting room. And so I'm excited to bring Monte back. This is his second appearance on The Craze. We're going to be talking about Blood and Bullets, #2, the graphic novel. And, but for all of you guys that have a campaign and you're trying to figure out how to promote it, I got something for you. Are you sitting at home wondering how you're going to spread the word about that Comic-Con that you're about to appear at? And you want to get some press? How about your first book signing? How do you spread the word so you can get an audience there? Or that first panel at a Comic-Con? Who do you talk to? Or even your first crowdfunding on Kickstarter or Indiegogo? The world is turning to podcasting to get the word out. Why not you? Sponsor an episode of Catch the Craze and start promoting yourself today. All right, we're going to bring him in. There he comes. There he is. The man, the myth, the legend. What's up, Kimosabi?
Now he's got it. What's up, Monty? How are you?
I'm back. I'm bad. I'm wearing black. I'm mad.
There you go. There he goes. There's a killer from Manila.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Monte Michael Moore on Catch the Craze. The last time Monty was on here, for those who are keeping track, was episode 268. So if you guys want to go into our archives, 268, that's when he first made his appearance on Catch the Craze.
And now we're at 346.
That's when you used to read the comic books back in the days, and you had the little asterisk at the bottom. First appearance, issue number. That's
first appearance of Monte Moore. That's awesome. I love that.
First appearance, 268. So check that out. So what's going on, Monty? What's happening?
I'm staying busy as hell. I'm doing art for The Mandalorian. There's a couple pieces over my shoulder here for Thomas Kincaid Studios, and I think I have somewhere between 6 and 8 different graphic novel projects in the works with artists around the world for the next 2 years.
Wow! Look at that's why we didn't come over for Thanksgiving. What the hell?
Monty, that piece behind you, that little piece of Grogu right there, that's a jigsaw puzzle, is it not? If I'm not mistaken.
So I do the art for Thomas Kincaid Studios, and then they're able to license it, and then you can see one of the puzzles over my shoulder there as well. And so right now there's 8. There's already 8 releases in the series. Wow. And then currently the plan is to do a painting for every single episode.
Oh, that's amazing.
Man. Wait, hold on. Where's the fire extinguisher? Because this guy's hot. He's hot.
I had a cool phone call today where we were going over sketches for upcoming episodes, and there was Lucasfilm people on the Zoom call, so that was pretty cool. So that's why I'm kind of like nerding out at the moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to live through you. That's it.
Living the dream right now. Holy cow! Congratulations, man.
It's pretty cool. Thank you.
Yes. Very happy for you. I'm glad. I'm very happy for you. I'm glad you're back. You have another Kickstarter that's launching. I don't know exactly when.
Tomorrow.
I think
tomorrow. Look at that.
Tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Yep.
Oh, you're gonna make it go like in the first 2 seconds. You'll probably break her Kickstarter record or something.
Right. Let's do it.
No, and there's some guys out there with some sick records. I don't, if I break a personal record, I'll be happy. But
yeah, I saw one guy did it in 14 seconds. I was like, 14 seconds. I said,
well, I could too if I set my goal at $40.
I know,
right? So tell us a little bit about Blood and Bullets. And you have this is the second campaign. This is issue number 2, right?
Yep.
Of the graphic novel. So tell us a little bit about the book and the project and how it started.
So this completes the first story arc for this character. And so these 2 graphic novels, 96 pages, represent almost a page by page recreation of a 100-page screenplay that I wrote. And for those who don't know, I do some indie screenwriting and things like that. And so I've written like 11 screenplays, and a couple of smaller feature films have been made. My work, one of which I produced myself. But back in about 2010-ish is, I think, when I wrote this. And I had written another project that was also a vampire Western, and it was called Dead by Sundown. And this producer requested the work, read it, and said, love this concept, but as a female producer, she also wants to produce projects that have like strong female characters. And she said, this particular story was mostly male characters. And there was a love interest in a female, but supporting role. And so I said, well, you think you might be interested in optioning or trying to produce a film if it was the same sort of setting, a Western with vampires in it, but it had strong female characters. And she said, absolutely, I would love that. And so I said, okay, give me a couple of weeks or a month. I don't remember how long it took, but it wasn't particularly long. And I wrote a whole new story with just the same kind of genre. And I made all 3 of the main characters female characters. And so the central character, Mary Masterson, her nickname is Bloody Mary Masterson. And then the secondary character, although not really a sidekick, they're more like cohorts, is Blackbird, who's a Native American character from the Arizona territory. And they're basically, it starts out as a pretty straightforward revenge kind of story where they're trying to figure out who killed Mary's brother in a very brutal fashion. And Blackbird was married to Mary's brother, so it was her sister-in-law. Right. So they sort of de facto end up teaming up together to go on this revenge journey. And there's some cultural issues in the story too, because Blackbird married a white guy. Yeah. And in town, the townspeople didn't want her there. They're like, that's not a Christian thing to do. You get out of here. Yeah. And then when she goes and visits her father at the tribe and sees the people, they want her to come back. And they're like, your place is not there with them. You should come back here. So she's a very torn person because there's also 2 daughters in the story that are left behind. And Mary's like, well, I can't raise them. I'm a gun for hire. Yeah. She protects like wagon trains and things like that. She's not like a killer for hire, but she's a gunslinger. Sure. And so I do like the fact that there are, full secondary and cultural issues and family issues and things like that. And so Mary has to also come around to sort of liking and trusting Blackbird, because in the very beginning, she's like, right. Yeah, she's making jokes like, oh yeah, you're making crow stew for us. And, she's throwing out the digs and things like that. And so this second issue basically picks off exactly where the first one led up. And so it is the second half of an ongoing arc, but I will say there's 2 or 3 pretty good reveals inside. You're not necessarily sure if you're going to be able to trust all those same characters. And I will say that maybe we don't necessarily know who's a vampire and who's not.
That's cool.
Why are you acting up?
Not everybody's running around biting people on the neck.
Why are you playing games? Why are you playing games?
That's my job.
So Monty, when you changed it from the all male cast to the female cast, is that when you added the cultural angle to the story, or was that always there? It kind of like worked even better.
No, it was 100% new story. The first story I had didn't have any strong Native American characters. So it was really just the setting was the same, but it's 100% different characters. Because then if somebody wants to make Blood and Bullets or Dead by Sundown into a screenplay or a streaming series or something else, they're totally different stories.
Gotcha.
But I will say that I was happily surprised at the success of the first campaign, which had raised about $45,000 in the initial Kickstarter campaign, that there was fans who had read Loco Hero and said, I like this as much as the others. So then I kind of felt like it wasn't just like a fluke, as a writer, because I'm not doing projects that are just like a TNA project.
Right.
I want people to read the story, and I get a little bit disappointed if somebody buys the comic and they never read it at all. Like, hey, we're giving you the digital edition with the comic.
Right.
So I get that people are buying from a collector standpoint. We're feeding that collector, need with lots of cool covers and different artists and all that. But I really do want people to read and enjoy the stories. And I'm sure as writers yourselves, you guys get that.
Yeah, we were just talking about that right before you came on, how readership is so important. It's cool to get the dollar amounts, and that's awesome. But a lot of the time, especially for like us who are just coming up and starting to do these things, a lot of that money goes to the postal service, to the printer. You know what I mean?
I would, on my campaigns, and people don't necessarily know that. I'm sure it's the same with you guys. 80% of the overhead, sometimes almost as much as 90%, goes to the artists, the printing, the advertising dollars, Kickstarter's cut, the post office printing, everything. And so people are like, oh my God, you made $50,000. You'd be like, you'd be lucky if you made 8 or 10.
Right. Yeah.
No, seriously. And I only tell people that because that's the hard truth, because the more backers, every time somebody says, well, I want this too. Yes, you're getting their pledge, but your printing costs are going up.
Correct.
Yes.
The amount of swag you got to produce, your rewards, right? So sometimes your cost per unit's going down, but your overall bill, when they're like, hey, Monty, you owe us $6,000 or $8,000 for printing or, shipping.
Yeah.
You better have held on to that money and not spent it, because that might be a couple months down the road, and you got to have that for fulfillment.
Yeah. And for those that are watching, they're probably tired of us hearing, people telling people about this. But a lot of the times, even when the campaign ends, you hear that big number, it doesn't mean that everybody actually pays at the end.
No, 5 or 10%.
Some of those drop, right? So there's that part of it too. So there's a lot that goes into these campaigns that, we take that plunge into it, and if we're successful, it's about the readership, and like you said, it's about that readership.
Yeah, so and sometimes because like you said, you get that drop, and you might even have missed a stretch goal, and you try to make it up on the backside. Be like, crap, I owe everybody coins now.
So we got Pops Van Zant from Comic Talk in the chat, and he says Monty's artist is high rent, baby.
Thank you, Pops. I appreciate that.
No, the artwork is beautiful, man. Like I was looking, just that image that you have right now for the pre-launch page. It's gorgeous. Like, it's just,
thank you.
That is amazing. And so obviously the artwork complements the story and back and forth. Do you do some of the artwork in the book, or how are you dividing the duties?
Now, it took me a long time, like several years, to actually kind of come to grips with not doing the art inside, because I just kept struggling with the fact that when I would say, oh, I want to do these stories as graphic novels, and people are like, yeah, you're the artist, you got to draw it. And I'm like, it takes too long. Like I've only done 2 full comics, and they take me like a year to draw half an issue.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas you have a lot of other comic artists who are doing it full time. Some of these guys turn in 2-3 pages a week, right? And I'm like, well, okay, wait a minute. These guys can get through a 48-page graphic novel in a couple of months if they're rocking it out. And so by reinvesting the money from my previous campaigns and just putting it right to work with all these other artists and colorists and letterers, then I can keep servicing my customers, like the Lucasfilm art, or staying with Brian Polito and saying, hey, I'm going to continue to do covers for you, but I've cut back on covers for some other projects. Because when people say, will you do me a cover? I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth to do publisher, Star Wars artists, and cover artists for select customers that were good to me and were there when I needed them. you know, when 10 years ago when the economy wasn't very good, and, you know, original art sold for like a quarter of what it's selling for now. You know what I mean?
So your interior artist, how did you come across him? You know, how many did you go through before you landed on this one?
So there's a little bit of a story there. There was another artist that I had started with who isn't currently working the industry. And he's a great artist, nice guy. His name's Leo Gondim. I believe he's in Brazil because he just sent me some of the original art that I had paid for a while back. And, you know, in many parts of the country or the world where a lot of these artists from, there's a lot of economic and political struggles. And sometimes artists have a hard time even leaving their house, you know, things like that. Regardless, he was my artist that I started with both Loco Hero and Blood and Bullets. Right. And unfortunately, he didn't get past about page somewhere between 5 and 15 on Blood and Bullets. And then it just stalled. And I hadn't had any art for a year and a half. Because I had written Loco Hero back in like 2015, 16. And I pulled him off Blood and Bullets, which I had already had him working on. Right. So a friend of mine who's a writer now getting into publisher in the Netherlands, his name is Richard Boom. And I met him when I was a guest over at the convention in Ghent, Belgium. And he was the guest coordinator. Like he'd go out and find all the guests and say, we want Adam Hughes, or we want Monte Moore, we want, you know, whoever. And so I had met him, and he and I were talking back and forth about comics because he was self-publishing his own. And he's like, you know, I could probably help you find artists. And I was like, really? That'd be fan-freaking-tastic. Yeah. So he starts, you know, sending artists my way. And the artist who'd done Blood and Bullets, his name is Silvano Beltramo. That just rolls off the tongue. That's
awesome. Yeah. So
and I like the fact that even it's a Western, and I have an Italian guy, so it's a little bit of a spaghetti Western. And, you know, his style is a little bit cleaner, and it's less maybe meticulous as far as details. Right. But he's a great visual storyteller. He's professional. He's timely. And he rocked through getting all of this done just without even messing around. Wow. And my next project that I'll be publishing in the spring is called The Midnight Cafe. And it's like Amazing Tales, Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt, kind of an anthology. And I had him draw a sci-fi one in there called Dead Silence. And I think he drew the whole thing in like 2 weeks because it's like 18 to 20 pages. Yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I got time. Send me the script. And I'm like, crap, I got to write it. You know, like I had a lot of my short stories are just synopsis, and I don't have all the breakdowns. Yeah. And so one time I was coming back from a road trip in Arizona, and I told Laura, I said, you have to drive because I need to write the script and send it to my guy in Italy. And so I was writing the script in the car. And so he's similar to me in that I've been an illustrator for projects like it was right before Harry Potter, when I was doing a lot of work for Magic, the Gathering and things like that. There was other artists who would kind of drop the ball. And so if you were an artist who was known for hitting your deadlines and being there when you were supposed to, so he's kind of that guy for me. Gotcha. And I have another project called Outpost Earth that was one of the very first stories that I ever wrote back in 2001, well, maybe 1999 actually. And it's a modern day sci-fi that takes place during our time now. Yeah. But there's sci-fi and alien elements. And I had another artist working on it the last year and a half. Same thing. Got up to about 18 or 19. I'm like, dude, we're all home. Like everybody's home during COVID. Like you should be rocking this shit out. And I earlier in the week, or maybe it was last weekend, I sent him a message and said, I'm sorry, I've got to move on from you as an artist. And so I showed the art to my same guy, Silvano, because I saw him post online like, hey, I'm available. And I'm like, shit, are you looking for projects? Because I will find something for you. Right. And so in the storyline, there is a past storyline, and then it says, we move forward 50 years into the future. where the main like bad guy and stuff is like grown up because you see him as a kid. And so I was like, you know what? Perfect breaking point. We're going to start a new artist. And so when it goes to 50 years in the future, it is going to have a new look. But I will probably start seeing pages on a weekly basis instead of, hey man, it's been 2 months. Like nothing, you got nothing for me.
So how different are the styles? Are they very
They're very different.
Very different. Okay.
Yeah.
But it'll still work though. You think you'll be able to make it work with the time, being that it's in the future? Do you think it'll
I think that'll just be sort of the retro look.
Correct.
And then in the storyline, there's going to be something to happen that's going to be a little bit technical, apocalyptic. And then that's going to change the story after this first story arc into something that's even very different. And it'll go kind of steampunky, but in a modern age.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Like if you were to lose, I guess a little bit Walking Dead, if you lose electricity and, gas engines and things like that. So that piece is called Outpost Earth. But I gave the artist the option. I said, take a look at what's been done. Right. If you really feel like you want this whole thing to be yours, you can start over from the beginning, but you got to give me a big discount on the art, like use that as a storyboard, because otherwise I'm walking away from 15 pages of art that I've already paid for. And that kind of hurts. Yeah. And because we had that 50-year gap. So I think it'll work. And, we've all read comics before that have switched artists. Yeah. And change. So that's just kind of part of the business sometimes.
Absolutely.
But for all the projects that I have going on, to only have had 2 that weren't timely, it's really not bad.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Because I was on a friend of mine's podcast here in Denver earlier in the week, and he was trying to get a project done, and he said he went through between 6 and 8 artists.
Wow.
I think because he was only trying to work with people who are local. Right. And that limits your pool a lot.
That's true.
Yeah. And I get when you're trying to give the local talent, like their shot, but then when they blow it for you, then you're pissed and you're like, well, crap. Because today you can go into a comic book colorist for hire or any number of Facebook groups and say, I'm hiring, post your samples, and you'll get posts from all over the world. And a lot of them will be amateur or pro-am, like right on that cusp. Yeah. And then every so often you see the folks who are like, hey, I've done 5 indie projects. Here's my work. I've been published and I got lots of samples. And you're like, you're my guy or you're my gal. And I think as an artist myself, I just had to get used to everybody else's style is different than mine. Yeah. One of the books that's being done is called The Book of Mark. And it's a very kind of brutal occult horror, kind of Clive Barker almost, that deals with possession. And that's being done by a woman in France named Chiara de Francia. And her style is very different than mine. She's coloring and drawing the entire thing. So she gets to put her imprint on exactly how everything looks. So I get finished pages, 2-3 pages a week sometimes.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. What's your writing style? Like as far as the scripts that you're sending them, are they just open scripts, almost like Marvel style, or are they more DC where you kind of break down everything and
I try to give a lot of freedom. Yeah. So the most direction that I would usually give is I'll write out what happens on a page, and I might say I'd like to see this as 5 to 8 panels, and then I might go on something else. I might say 3 to 5 panels, but I don't do breakdowns and sketch stuff out because they might come up with something way cooler than me. And artists love having freedom. Yeah. So rather than me saying, I want you to draw the Grim Reaper over here, and then I want this guy's, head exploding, or, this happens over here, they get the complete visual storyteller. And I think that they enjoy that more. And I give them lots of kudos. And then as long as it follows the script, as long as it accomplishes on the page, even if they do it differently than what I might do it. So 99.9 of everything I see, I leave as is, unless I just go, hey, we got to see the book, or we need to see this girl in the background. Like I need to establish that for the story, because otherwise they're going to, how the hell did she know that? Oh, well, she had to be close enough in the background to hear that. Right. Yeah.
Sometimes even facial expressions to denote what kind of emotion the character is having within that page. You know, they can't be smiling when they're supposed to be upset. Like, you know, that,
Right.
those
Yeah,
little nuances, little things
Yep.
like that, I think, could.
I will tell you, I'm not particularly good at really emotive facial expressions and stuff in my drawing, probably because I've done so much pinup work, right? Which is usually just kind of sexy pose, you know, it's not like rah.
Right.
And or if you're doing something from say Star Wars and you're working from reference, you don't get to change that stuff. It is what it is. And other than maybe adjusting, you know, eyebrows or, you know, something like that to make something more aggressive.
Right.
And so I like it when I see my artist turning in art and I'll go, man, great expression, or man, that's a tough angle to draw, like a dynamic up angle. Or when they draw like 5 people in a room all standing around and the camera looks like it's over them, and I'm like, shit, that looks good.
Yeah.
That would have sucked for me to try to draw that.
Yeah.
And
The saloon scene when she walks in, I mean, you look at everybody sitting in the saloon and the bartender. That was beautifully done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those scenes when they have the camera from an impossible angle kind of stuff. And it's great visual storytelling because I can use those in my promo and go, this captures the flavor of my project.
True. Yeah.
Oh, that's outstanding. I mean, you're getting ready for the second one. I mean, you have 251 followers thus far.
That was my goal. My goal was over 200.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. Piece of cake. I mean, you know, it's like, forget about it. So what can people expect from this go around?
So we've got a great lineup of cover artists, and many of them are new to me working with them, because now I've been doing this for a year and a half. It's not just calling in favors of other people I've done covers for.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, it takes a long time to get on people's schedule.
Yes.
Especially if they're also self-publishing. And COVID was weird because it was just weird, right? There was people who were available, and there was people who weren't, and there was people who were in a bad mind place, and they weren't, you know, getting art done. But some of the covers and things that people can expect that are new is I have my first lineup of female cover artists. Now, there's not near as many in the industry, so they're also in high demand.
Wow.
But we already have unveiled art from Sabine Rich, who did a beautiful watercolor. And then also Stephanie Lavaud, who's French, also did a really cool watercolor that has half Mary and half Blackbird. Very much a fine art piece. And then fingers crossed, I think hopefully tomorrow I'm going to see art from Nii Rufino. And I'm really looking forward to seeing her piece as well. I've been on her schedule for like a year. I'm like, I got to have a cover from you. And then a couple of returning favorites. Some of my favorite guys are Mike Crome and Mike DeBalfo. So I do have both of them in this campaign. And then I saw Ryan Kincaid at the Denver show that we had just 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, hey, man, you want to do a cover trade? And he's like, when do you need something? I was like, well, we probably couldn't have it for this campaign because I would need it in like, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks. And like 3 days later, he had art to me. He's like, here you go, bro. And so I immediately got it over to the colorist, and we debuted that one yesterday. That was by Ryan Kincaid and Tevin. If you scroll down on my page, you'd be able to see it. But and it came out fantastic. Love this sort of like uplighting, almost like there's a campfire or something like off to the side.
The moon in the background.
And so I think I'll probably use that quite a bit as like a promotional image. And then there's a couple of other artists that I'm waiting to get art in from. So I don't know if that's going to happen. I have been talking to both Buzz and Paolo Pantalena. And if it doesn't come in on this campaign, then I'll save it for a future release or a specialty item. And then Josh, who works for me here at the studio, you know, I have him on like the hunt for like really cool, like stretch goal, like swag items. And I think we're going to have an arrowhead as one of the things that will like, you know, be a stretch goal. We had a lot of really cool stuff in the last campaign, like a patch. We had a pin that looked like a bullet end. We had the wooden, we had both the poker chip and the wooden nickel. So I think we're going to do a wooden nickel in this one as well. And then maybe start make it like it's a collector series.
Right.
Like if there's a Blood and Bullets campaign, you know, you have a chance to like add another nickel to it. And then we're also going to make some of the original art available. So Silvano works digitally, so I don't have pages to buy and then re-offer. But we have my originals, and then we have originals from the first campaign, because a lot of times I'll try to buy the original art from the artist for two reasons. One, I'm the one to sell it, so I know where it goes in case I need it back.
Right.
And then two, it allows the artist to have that quick sale and get the original art sold. And so that's more of a boon for them rather than waiting. You know, what if you had to wait 6 months or 2 years, you know, to sell your art? Then they get, you know, cash quicker.
Right, so that's pretty interesting. I mean, you prefer that your artists work traditionally, so that way you can get the.
I do.
Okay.
But I certainly don't dictate it,
Yeah.
and because you have artists like Paolo Pantalena or Niai Rufino, you know, they might do a traditional sketch, but they're going to be faster, and that signature look you're going to get is going to be digital. But Sabine Rich said, you know, hey, I'm thinking of doing a watercolor, and I'm like, whatever you want to do is fine with me.
Yeah.
And then I loved it so much I bought it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. You just actually got a couple of more followers on your page there. Yeah,
right on.
Yeah, so it's going to be great. So tomorrow the launch is at what time, Monty? For those who just joined us?
I think we're planning on 6 p.m. Mountain time, and so I'm kind of middle of the country, so be an hour earlier in California, and then where you guys are, you're in Eastern, right?
Yeah,
I'm in Texas.
Oh, you're in Texas. Okay, so you're Central. Yeah. So we're kind of spread across there. So yeah.
Nice. That's exciting stuff, man. I can't wait to see the campaign, and it's a 30-day campaign, right?
Yeah, we've always run ours typically you know, we do some traditional stuff, like we start on a Wednesday because it leads you into the weekend, and they say typically that's your best starting day. And then we'll run 30 days and, you know, be promoting it along the way. But I kind of had to sandwich in between. I wanted to be done. I wanted Brian Polito's latest Kickstarter to be done, which just ended. And so I try not to go up against that. I don't need that kind of competition. And then try to be done before Christmas as well. So that way we could end middle of December. And hopefully people, you know, aren't like, oh, well, I can't be buying that. I got to buy things for everybody else.
So
comics people usually buy for themselves.
That's true.
So tour stops, where you doing any shows the next few months?
As far as conventions or
appearances?
So I have one really big one that's actually nearly 2-week show, and that's the one in Las Vegas this year. Last year it was in Fort Worth, and that's called Cowboy Christmas, and it's part of the National Finals Rodeo. And so you have sponsors like, you know, Coors and Wrangler and all that kind of thing, and so it is totally 100% different than the pop culture world. It's all, you know, Western. And so I share a booth with a guy who builds beautiful Western handmade furniture. Wow. And he does, you know, turquoise inlays and Native American and Western themes and leather tooling. So we share a 50-foot booth. So we have 5 booths end to end. He gets the floor and I get the walls. And so I get to put up, you know, so I end up having 60, 70 feet of wall space for these giant stagecoach prints and stuff that I make, and my Western art. And I because there's some nice crossover with Blood and Bullets, I do take some of my Blood and Bullets cowboy cowgirl art to that as well. But mostly it's, you know, like John Wayne and Tombstone and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And so I do cross over. A lot of my Western art has a pop culture vein to it, and I'm one of the few to kind of do that.
Right. So now forget about who you are. Forget about your rock star status. Right? You have a captivated audience. Why Blood and Bullets?
Why they should support it?
Yes.
Or
yes.
What made me think
take your name out the equation? Why should they support Blood and Bullets?
You know what? I hope people don't ever support projects because of somebody's name. I'm like a really like a merit-based guy. I want people to look at something and say, I like this idea. I like this story. And I think the good news is the feedback from people who read the first one is they said, this is different than what I've read before. It's not just re-churning out the same thing.
Right.
So when I first had the idea, I was like, well, I want to have like a badass, sexy character like Kate Beckinsale in Underworld.
Right.
And take a character and set that character in the Old West. But I'm not going to tell you whether she is or isn't a vampire, because in Underworld, she's a vampire.
Right.
But as far as you know, Bloody Mary Masterson isn't. Maybe she is, maybe she's not. So I think that people can count on the fact that there's going to be an intriguing story with hopefully good writing, great art from other artists that they like and admire. So it's quality inside and out.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a great variety of cover artists, and you're going to get really cool swag. So it's kind of a no-brainer if you like cool stuff.
Right.
Which, you know, I'm sure some people will like, well, I like comics, and maybe most of the comics world is like superhero. So it's a breath of fresh air to be different. Like, I'm not actually, of all the projects I'm doing, I don't have any that are superhero.
Right.
I don't have I've written projects like that, but I don't have a single one that I'm doing that's a superhero project.
Right.
And so it'll be different than what you've done. And I think even if you're not a fan of Westerns, I think you would still enjoy it because it's badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pop says I did back the first one on Monty's name, but the book sold me on book 2. But I do want to say I did read issue 1, and it's paced very well. The story, it really brings you into the environment. I love how you started off with the initial conflict between the wife and the sister, and how you built on that, and now they found they're dependent on each other. You know, all these things plays out really well.
That's the single best review I've ever heard yet. I didn't need to hire you. No, because that means a lot to me, because it really means you did read and connect with the story. Yeah. And there's a lot of bubblegum kind of comics and stuff out there, but I appreciate the fact that you appreciate that. No,
it's really good book. I mean, I'm surprised you don't have 1,000 people lined up, waiting to start backing it right now, because it's really good story.
I've never been an overnight success. I'm telling you guys, I'm like just the journeyman guy in the trenches, coming up on almost 30 years in the business. I never had a J. Scott Campbell, Frank Cho kind of career. I'm just like, baby steps the whole way. Right. And now I'm happy that I have a fan base that I can rely on, and they're supportive because they like me as a person, I hope. Yeah. And I think that they like the art that I create. Doesn't mean they're going to support everything. Right. But it makes me feel good about that, and that we can continue to get new backers and new people. As Brian said, it's important to have both the new and your existing fan base. Yeah. Yeah. But, he's gone from a few hundred backers to 2,000 or 3,000 in a campaign. Right. Yeah. Now, I've been fortunate enough that my previous 3 campaigns have all had over 600 backers. Right. Now, I haven't grown terribly from that. So I think the most backers we had, it was either on Loco Hero 2 or B&B 1, was like 679. Plus you got some dropouts in there, like you said. But I'm not into that category that has launched past that. But I'd love it if every single campaign I had, if I had 100 new backers, and I could go from 600 to 700 to 800, that's kind of more like the progress that I'm sort of used to. Right. Now, if I wanted to take $5,000 and throw it on advertising and splash it out there, I'd probably get even more backers. But I'm not. I'd rather spend that money on art for other campains. Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely. But as always, we can talk to you forever. But we do appreciate having you on the show.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate the kind words and helping get the word out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Anytime, man. Anytime you got something coming out, you got to let us know, and we'll put you on here and we'll talk.
Yeah, you guys are a blast to talk to, and I was happy to see the success of your projects as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
You know,
Thank you,
you
thank you.
give us something to work towards. But thank you, sir. We appreciate having you
We're
on the
all
show.
working towards something.
Right? Hey, if you're not chasing something, then what are you doing, right?
Right. Well, hopefully in the springtime, like maybe February time frame, we'll come back on. We'll talk about Midnight Cafe, because that's going to be about like Sasquatch and stories and Halloween and horror and all sorts of cool stuff.
That's what I like is the diversity in your stories. That's the cool stuff about that. But yeah, you definitely have to come back, Monty. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes.
My pleasure.
We will
Thank you,
talk
guys.
soon. And remember, guys, tomorrow it launches 6 p.m. Blood and Bullets. Get it on Kickstarter. Follow it now.
Links
Thank
in-
you.
Make sure you
Monty.
guys send me the link and I'll spread it out there to the Montiacs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have a good night, buddy.
Take
All right.
care.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So that was Monty, and so now we're getting ready to start a new show in a minute. Let's move this and
See you guys.
yeah. All right, guys. So in 5 minutes we'll be back with another guest. We're gonna have Antonio Cristal, and we will hold a raffle at the 8:00 show. So join us for the raffle. We have 5 names for the raffle for the spinner, and George is gonna spin that wheel. With that said, don't forget the link is in the chat. Thank you, Pops. Thank you, Michael San Martino. Thank you, Monty. You guys were all great. I'm Sam the Crazy Man Rivera.
George the Dreamer Medina.
And we'll see you in 5 minutes.
It's just easy. It's not.
Crazy. Acquiesce.
No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. I met him the other.
Say my name,
Right?
This is what you were thinking? Oh,
He described me. He said, I'm the.
What? Catch the craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze on Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.